Trash Cinema.
Hey, welcome everybody to another great episode of Trash Cinema. I'm your host, Michael, my co-host.
Tony?
Alright, and this week we're going to be discussing, this one's a little bit off kilter because usually we discuss two movies that are unintentionally bad. We're going to be discussing John Water movies, specifically Serial Mom and Cecil be Demented. Now, he's a weird one to judge because his movies are kind of tasteless and trashy on purpose. So it's hard to say whether or not they're good movies. How did you feel about the movies?
I like to judge John Water movies on his formula and how he executes his formula. And if you ever watch a John Waters movie, the basic formula is you have the perfectly normal or whatever type of person that just slowly goes mad throughout the entirety of the movie until the end of it.
Yeah, here's the weird thing is, now this will probably upset a few people since we're talking about John Waters. I have never seen one of his early movies. I've never seen Pink Flamingos or anything like that. The first one I ever saw was Hairspray. So I kind of have the mainstream version of John Waters in my head, which is bizarre to say this is mainstream.
No, I'm with you. I'm basically a millennial, so I mean, I watched the newer John Waters movies, which is what I kind of base everything off of. Which, you're right, will insult some people, so you'll have to forgive us a bit for this one. We're going to be a little judgy.
Yeah, so he has some success with Hairspray and Crybaby, both which I highly enjoyed. And then this is where the road gets weird. He's no longer really produced by big studios. It's usually like companies that are just starting. They need a hit going. So Savoy Pictures, first two movies are Lightning Jack, which we're going to discuss one of these days.
I can't even tell you how much I love Lightning Jack, but Michael knows that. He helped me find that particular movie because I was hunting for it for a while.
Lightning Jack, and then their second movie is Serial Mom. Both did okay, but they're so wildly different than what normal studios were making at the time. To give you the plot basics of Serial Mom, Kathleen Turner seems like the most normal, sweet mom. It's as if you had taken the mom from Leave It to Beaver and twisted her in such a way that she was a demented serial killer. That's pretty much the basis of this, right?
Well,
Taken like
you
a
say
50s.
demented, but really, it's a logical serial killer. It's a reasonable degree of madness.
The fact that she gets bent out of shape over these things that a lot of us get bent out of shape, but we just don't kill people. It's oddly cathartic the way that she takes
Mm-hmm.
care of these things. Like you're wearing white shoes after Labor Day. And I would say this: the performances are spot on. I mean, everybody all around is really good in this movie.
Oh yeah. They have a surprisingly good cast for a unknown studio.
Yeah, and Sam Waterston probably being the shining moment. The weirdest thing is, though, I think this is the first movie that Matthew Lillard was ever in.
Really, I didn't even think about that.
I think he did. I'm pretty sure he did Hackers the year after that, and then came Scream. But I don't believe he did anything, at least nothing this big, before Serial Mom. And just seeing him there, it's like, wow, this is his shining moment.
Yeah, he's always been kind of like Danny Trejo to me. You know, the generic nerd or generic Mexican in Danny Trejo's case. It's like I don't really expect him anywhere. He just kind of pops up, and I'm kind of
Yeah,
surprised every time.
yeah, I haven't seen him actually in a while, which is kind of a shame because I always enjoy seeing him on the screen.
Yeah, I loved him in 13 Ghosts. I don't care what anybody says.
No, man, yeah, those movies are derided pretty bad. The what do you call the Dark Castle is the label, right? They did
Yeah,
House on
yeah.
Haunted Hill and 13 Ghosts, and what's the one on the ship? Ghost Ship, is that it?
I might be. I don't know. I'm not huge into horror movies. I just happened to
Oh,
watch that one, and I really enjoyed it because it was dumb.
yeah, all three were highly entertaining, highly improbable, and they always have really good budgets, and it's very strange. All right, so Serial Mom, I give this one a thumbs up. I can't say thumbs up; that's copywritten. I approve.
I face my fist forward with my fingers inwards, and maybe a thumb will pop up. I don't know.
The one thing I find funny is my obsession with VHS. You know, I used to have one of the most amazing collections of
Oh
VHS
yeah.
to the point where it clogged my entire house. Whenever they're in, the Matthew Lillard's character works in a video store, I find myself not listening to a single word being said, just trying to, oh, I know that movie. Okay, I know that movie. I had that movie. I had that movie. I'm trying to piece every single movie in the background. That's a really weird way to watch a movie.
No, honestly, it's what you do when you have an interest. I mean, my buddy is a huge programmer, and every time we watch Hackers, it's a good old list of that's not happening, that's not real, that you can't do that, that's not even close to being right.
Yeah, so this one I would say is not exactly trashy. It's just a skewed oddball. It feels like the way movies were in the '80s, the ones that were kind of off kilter. That what do you want to call them? Cowpunk, I guess, is what you would call them, or like white trash kind of movies.
Yeah,
It has
yeah.
that. It has that attitude, but it's spun with '50s kitsch.
I mean, I'd compare it to kind of the Stepford Wives, only with just the single wife, and you just get to see that really in-depth view of the slow turn to madness and the sense that it makes.
Yeah, and I think this is probably one of her last major performances. I really don't see her that much anymore. She usually just does kind of like supporting roles or cameos.
I never really thought about that, but yeah, you're probably right. Which, to be fair, she has a particular look going for her, so it's kind of tough for her to really be fitting anything else.
Yeah, but she also doesn't. I think it's funny that she showed up in Dumb and Dumber 2 and she said, "Yeah, of course I look different. It's been 20 years since I really did a movie. People get older, people put on weight, their faces just deal with it already. I'm okay with it."
Right.
And John Waters is probably at his prime right here when it comes to like efficiency, tight script, fast moving. But I think some people probably would get a little bit uncomfortable because it does feel like a slight sellout, like he's going studio with this one.
Yeah, it sort of does. I mean, as a whole, it was worth watching, and it was worth watching again, just for this. But I can't see myself really recommending this to anybody ever.
Okay, so our second movie is Cecil B. Demented. Between this, he did Pecker, but I wasn't able to find Pecker. We just grabbed two random John Waters movies. Um, Cecil B. Demented is his last, I think his last like mini studio. He was with Artisan. I don't know who did A Dirty Shame. Have you seen that one, A Dirty Shame?
I don't think so. No.
Tracy Allman gets hit on the head, and she goes from being an absolute prude to being an absolute sex freak. So it's kind of like what you're saying, that formula that he does, where he takes someone like pure and innocent and watches them go demented.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Um, so I wish you had seen that one. That one's really great. Johnny Knoxville just kills that in that movie. Chris
Oh.
Isaac's great. But Cecil B. Demented is a frustrating one for me, and basically it's about Melanie Griffith. She is an A-lister. She is shooting a movie, basically a big studio movie, and Steven Dorff. This is right after Blade, which is weird because that was a big hit and that kind of got his name back out there. So I'm kind of surprised he did a tiny little movie. So it kind of shows you he bends. He doesn't really take big paycheck kind of movies when he could have.
Yeah.
When he could have, he just always sticks kind of independent.
And technically, you can kind of say that Cecil B. Demented is one of the more artsy style movies. So if you really want to try to do an art type of movie, this would be one of those situations.
Yeah. So he is Cecil B. Demented. He is a film director who is so committed to his vision that he'll go to almost terrorist links with him and his group. A lot of rising stars in this, people that I'd never seen before.
Yeah, watching this movie, I swore just by the film style and the grain of the film and all that. I was like, oh, this must have been like 1990s, early 90s. No, 2000. This
Yeah.
film was filmed in 2000.
And I forgot to say, he kidnaps Melanie Griffith and forces her to be in his movie, and he wants to make it as authentic as possible. The problem is he isn't telling her that half the stuff she's doing is real. So, yeah, there's a lot of bloodshed. I don't. This is probably his return to like true trashy movies because there really is no likable character in this.
No, not at all. And there was a lot of just film faux pas. You know me. I like to find the little small things that are just like, holy crap, did this person really let this happen?
Yeah.
And I want to say a third into the movie, when they first kidnap the actress and bring her to the home base, they're playing a TV where they're showing the reports on what happened during the kidnapping. And so in the scene, the girl, who happens to have a mustache, I believe,
Yes.
is playing the thing on the TV. The camera zooms over to the right, and you see the entire crew watching it. And the girl is standing with the crew watching it. And then it zooms back to the left, and then she's standing next to the TV again. I'm like, come on, man. Come on.
And the movie, okay, I made a mistake. I watched this with my mom, and because she has a pretty cool sense when it comes to movies, and not a lot of stuff bothers her when it's like weird. But
Yeah.
that scene where they're all kind of getting horny and bothered,
Oh,
I was
geez,
like,
yeah.
oh no, I chose the wrong thing to watch. Oh no. But it's like one
So,
of those
so
things. He does these things that seem like they're dangerous and dirty and filthy, but actually most of the time they're kind of adorable.
they are, and there's solid grounding for his reasoning. It's just that it's so over the top, just gonzo that you have to be a special type of person to really go that far.
Yeah.
The fact that he throws out directors of all types at the very beginning of it. Everyone has a tattoo of their favorite, low key arty director, Spike Lee.
Samuel Fuller, Kenneth Anger.
Yeah. There's just a whole list of them, just like bam, bam, bam. It's like, yeah, this is to represent the fact that we're legit workers. And then he goes like, yeah, none of us have to have sex in weeks until this film is done. Like, what is the reasoning behind that?
Well, my thing that I think about it is, at first I thought that this was his way of proving, like, oh yeah, we're true independents. I'm going back to my roots here. But I watched this next time, and I feel like he was kind of poking his finger at people who are pretentious, like too artsy for their own good, and they don't have any fun.
Honestly, like, I felt like it was kind of a jab at both directions. Like, it's a consistent Mary Sue, him being Cecil B. Demented and just making fun of himself and the lengths that he'll go to,
Yeah.
and at the same time making fun of the studios at the lengths that they go to. So this one just felt like a complete love story to himself the entire time, personally.
And the one thing that truly bothers me though is the massive amount of bloodshed. Most of his movies are pretty safe. I want to say when he does like the kind of trashy poke fun at things, it's edgy, but it's not malicious.
Yeah.
There was something off-putting, especially at the end when people are just getting shot and maimed left and right. I mean, it goes from being goofy fun to all of a sudden, they're getting shot in the head, and there's really no rhyme or reason because that girl was just having sex on top of the drive-in. She didn't have a weapon. She didn't have anything. They just blow her head off, and I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
understand where that came from.
Yeah, and you make a good point. I mean, so that scene, the girl died immediately. I want to say about 10 scenes prior, uh, their junkie dude gets shot in the head, and for some magical reason, he's still floating around asking for more drugs. And this is just like you're really stretching yourself here, buddy. Are you just throwing whatever you want out? Or is this the bottom of your well, and you're just scraping it out and throwing it on film?
Yeah, I don't know. There might be a reason why he stopped making movies. Not so much because they don't make money. Maybe he didn't have anything else to say when it comes to film. Now, if you ever see his live show, This Filthy World, or he goes on tour all the time, those are top notch. It's kind of the way Kevin Smith does it, where he's just kind of a rancan tour, telling all these great stories. That is top notch. But I felt like this is the point where he kind of was running out of stuff he wanted to say.
Yeah. Yeah, so viewers, if you want to know what this is going to be like if you watch it, imagine if they took Empire Records, jammed it together with Rent, and then threw it out there, kind of mishmash with a violent action sequence.
Yeah. The only true interesting part is the fact you get to see Michael Shannon, because he's a Man of Steel and Boardwalk Empire. You see him really early in his career, and Adrian Grenier from Entourage. That was at least entertaining just to see those guys so young.
Yeah, I'm with you that one.
But other than the curiosity of it, or if you're a true John Waters, like I gotta see everything, I would say I don't recommend this one.
Yeah, you should pretty much just pass on it. Maybe like the highlights, but it's definitely hard to sit through.
And if you do, it is free on Netflix right now. Otherwise, Serial Mom you kind of have to hunt down. Actually, most of his movies are kind of hard to find. I don't know what's going on with that, but like Crybaby is fun. Pecker, I just can't remember, but A Dirty Shame is definitely, if that's gonna be his last movie, it's a fun way to end your career. Anything else you want to say about these?
Honestly, if you do end up watching them, good luck. Serial Mom was gonna be okay. But Cecil B, man, just I don't know, find something to grip it down to because it's hard to watch through.
All right, everybody, that's it for us here at Trash Cinema. Thank you for your support. Check us out on Facebook under Trash Cinema. Actually, you know what? I was going to say Retro Rock Entertainment. That's our main page, but I am going to build a Trash Cinema page devoted to all the episodes of this. Thank you, everybody, for all your comments and suggestions. If you got a good double feature, let us know, man. We'll consider it and torture ourselves with it.
Thanks a lot, guys.
All right, have a good night. And